At exactly 2:07 a.m., under the buzzing fluorescent lights of a nearly empty roadside diner, a single father sat hunched over a chipped coffee mug, watching his 3 sleeping daughters share one booth like it was their only shelter in the world. Outside, the highway hummed with passing trucks, their headlights flashing across the glass like silent reminders that life kept moving, even when yours felt painfully stuck. His name was Aaron Cale, and this was not where he thought he would be at 32 years old. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that change lives, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Kindness Matter. Stories like this remind us that even at 2 a.m., hope can walk through the door when we least expect it. Aaron had once been a skilled machinist at a small factory on the outskirts of town. He worked overtime, saved carefully, and dreamed modestly. His wife, Marisol, had been the sunlight in their tiny apartment, filling it with laughter that echoed through thin walls. But life has a way of rewriting plans without asking permission. A sudden illness took Marisol in less than 6 months, leaving Aaron with 3 4-year-old daughters, Nora, Selah, and Ivy, and a grief so heavy it felt like breathing through stone. The factory closed the following year. Automation replaced half the workers, and Aaron's seniority wasn't enough to save him. He bounced between construction jobs, delivery shifts, and warehouse night work, but nothing lasted long. Childcare for triplets cost more than rent, and relatives lived states away. Bills stacked like dominoes waiting to fall. Eventually, they did. That night at the diner wasn't some spontaneous adventure. It was strategy. The girls' electricity had been cut off earlier that evening, and the apartment felt like a cold cave. Rather than let them shiver in darkness, Aaron bundled them into their jackets and walked 6 blocks to the only place open all night, Sunbeam Diner, a narrow building wedged between a gas station and a closed pharmacy. For the price of 1 plate of pancakes and endless refills of coffee, they could sit in warmth until morning. The diner smelled of syrup and fried eggs. A tired waitress named Colleen didn't ask questions, she simply brought extra napkins and quietly refilled Aaron's mug without charging him. The girls had fallen asleep after splitting the pancakes into careful, even bites, their small hands sticky with syrup. Nora clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, Selah rested her head on Aaron's arm, and Ivy curled against the vinyl seat like a kitten. Aaron stared at them, feeling the weight of failure pressing against his ribs. He wasn't angry at the world, he was angry at himself. He replayed every decision, every missed opportunity. Maybe he should have moved sooner. Maybe he should have taken that risky job offer 2 years ago. Maybe. The word haunted him. Around 2:30 a.m., the bell above the diner door chimed softly. Aaron barely looked up at first. Wealth didn't usually wander into Sunbeam Diner at that hour. But the woman who stepped inside didn't belong to the dim yellow lights or cracked linoleum floors. She wore a tailored cream coat and carried herself with quiet confidence. Her name was Celeste Laurent, though Aaron didn't know that yet. The surname, if spoken aloud in that town, would have drawn gasps. The Laurents owned half the commercial real estate downtown, several tech startups, and a philanthropic foundation known across the state. Celeste wasn't there by accident. Her driver had taken a wrong turn after a late charity gala, and she'd insisted on stopping when she saw the diner's glow. She said she was hungry. In truth, she was exhausted, from applause, from speeches, from rooms full of people who only saw her inheritance and not the woman carrying it. She slid into a booth across the room, ordered tea, and began scrolling through emails on her phone. But her attention kept drifting. It wasn't the man's worn jacket or the scuffed boots that caught her. It was the way he kept adjusting his daughter's blankets, tucking loose strands of hair behind tiny ears, and pressing soft kisses to their foreheads when he thought no one was watching. Celeste had grown up surrounded by luxury but starved of affection. Her father, a titan in business, believed love was proven through trust funds and elite schools. She'd eaten dinners alone at tables that could seat 20. Watching Aaron gently reposition Ivy so her neck wouldn't ache felt like witnessing a language she'd always wanted to learn. Time stretched. A truck roared past outside, shaking the windows slightly. Nora stirred and whimpered in her sleep. Aaron immediately leaned closer, whispering reassurance, his hand rubbing slow circles on her back until she settled again. He didn't notice Celeste watching, but she noticed everything. Eventually, she stood and approached the counter to pay her bill. Instead of leaving, she paused beside Aaron's booth. She hesitated. Wealth had taught her that stepping into someone else's hardship could be seen as intrusion. But something in her chest refused to stay silent. She asked a simple question about the girls' ages. Aaron stiffened at first, pride bristling. He'd learned that curiosity often led to pity, and pity felt like salt in a wound. But Celeste's tone held no judgment, only genuine warmth. He answered quietly, explaining they were 4, turning 5 in 2 months. He didn't mention the electricity. He didn't mention overdue rent. He didn't need to. The story clung to his tired eyes. Celeste nodded, then surprised him by sitting down across from him without waiting for invitation. She spoke about how brave it must be to raise 3 daughters alone. No one had called him brave before. Most people called him unlucky. Some called him irresponsible. Brave felt foreign. They talked in low voices so the girls wouldn't wake. Aaron shared fragments of his story, not as complaint but as confession. He admitted he felt like he was drowning in slow motion. Celeste listened, not as an heiress, not as a benefactor, but as a human being. When she finally stood to leave, she did something that felt small in gesture but seismic in impact. She asked Aaron for his full name and the name of his apartment complex. He hesitated again, instinct warning him against false hope. But exhaustion softened his defenses. He told her. By 9 a.m., sunlight poured through the diner windows. The girls awoke giggling, unaware of adult burdens. Aaron gathered them up, thanked Colleen, and walked home under a pale blue sky, bracing himself for another day of uncertainty. What he didn't know was that Celeste Laurent had not returned home to sleep. Instead, she had called her foundation's director before dawn. She had asked for a discreet background check, confirmation of Aaron's employment history, and verification of unpaid utilities. Within hours, her team confirmed everything he'd said. By noon, the electricity at Aaron's apartment flickered back to life. At 1:15 p.m., a representative from a local manufacturing company, recently acquired by Laurent Industries, called Aaron with an interview offer. By 3 p.m., a community childcare center informed him that 3 full scholarships had just opened for Nora, Selah, and Ivy. Aaron stood in his tiny kitchen, phone in hand, as the refrigerator hummed back to life. He sank into a chair, overwhelmed. The girls clapped at the sight of lights turning on, thinking it was magic. In a way, it was.